Welcome to Healthy Births, Happy Babies, where we share tips, tools, and stories grounded in natural childbirth and parenting principles, so that instead of feeling overwhelmed and confused during this exciting time in your life, you feel safe, supported, and empowered in your childbirth and parenting journey. And now, here's your host, Dr. Jay Warren.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Healthy Births, Happy Babies. I'm Dr. Jay Warren. I'm the Family Wellness Chiropractor and the Wellness Care Coordinator here at the CAP Wellness Center. And today our guest is Dr. David Jackson. He's here to share his passion and his expertise on raising a healthy family. Not just raising a healthy kid, but raising a whole family that's healthy and happy and balanced. He has so much to share about this, and I want to get right to our interview. But before I do that, I want to take a moment to thank our sponsor, the CAP Wellness Center, who makes this podcast possible for you. The CAP Wellness Center in Encinitas, California, has assembled an incredible team of fully certified holistic healthcare professionals that offer the very best in prenatal, postpartum, and pediatric wellness services. We offer acupuncture, chiropractic, massage, yoga, lactation support services, and a wide variety of birth education classes to ensure that you are fully able to experience the power of birth. And now, at this point, let me introduce our guest, Dr. David Jackson. Dr. David is a committed father of 3 incredible girls and has shared an epic love affair with his wife, Nicole, for 26 years. His commitment to creating impact for others, along with an unparalleled personal life for himself and his family, has led him to create 18 businesses. Having risen from the ashes of failing in practice 9 times, Dr. David has spoken on 6 continents to over 100,000 people. Dr. David is founder and CEO of the largest online training company in the chiropractic profession, Epic Practice. With cutting-edge success systems for business, pediatrics, team training, and growth, Epic provides doctors with proven tools, strategies, and community to succeed at high levels by sharing their gifts and talents to improve the health of the communities they are a part of. Dr. David is committed to helping chiropractors create their epic life by openly sharing his passion, his journey, through leading by example so that others may serve more, make more, and be more. And with that, let me turn to my conversation with Dr. David Jackson. Dr. Jackson, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, thank you, Dr. J. I'm excited to be here.
Good. Well, I'm excited to have you. I've known about you and listened to you speak a number of times throughout my career. I was way back in, I think 2003, 2004. I was at Total Solution and heard you speaking there when I was first getting the scans. It's kind of a chiropractic boot camp for mental space and philosophy for chiropractors. And, I heard you speak so much about and how so passionately about family care, family health care, but just in general, how to take care of the whole family. And that's why I wanted you to come and speak to our listeners today and share insights on that. So thank you in advance for being here.
Hey, you know what? It's an honor. It's something that I'm extremely passionate about, have been for over 30 years, and I'm excited to share with the audience today.
Great. Well, I read your bio, but share a little bit more for our listeners, like who you are and what you're about and how you came to be so passionate about family care.
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, I think that the most important thing is that I'm a very fortunate husband to an incredible woman. I've been married for 26 years, and through that love, we have 3 beautiful daughters, and they're hard to believe they're grown. One is 19, one is 21, and one is 23, and they are they're everything to us. And we've had, just like every parent, all the ups and downs, but they are amazing kids. And we'll talk maybe a little bit more about this before. They were all born at home, and they've led a very, very natural lifestyle. They are very unique humans because they don't fit into the typical mold, especially, I'm here down in Southern California as well. And as you very well know, it's a different world, and it's a different time. And to see the kind of quality human beings they've become is my proudest accomplishment. Outside of that, I've been a chiropractor for 30 years and, dedicated myself to family practice and children. And simply, Dr. J, because I love kids. I just, in practice, I was like, it was great taking care of moms and dads, but what I really wanted to do was help raise healthy families. And that was kind of unknown territory for me, for sure, and for most people in the profession 30 years ago, but I dug into it, and I've created a lot of success with it. I've gone on to be one of the more and perhaps the most respected teacher in the realm of how you go about transitioning from simply a pain-based practice of chiropractic to really taking care of kids and families and assuring health of future generations. So I speak all over the world on the topic of optimum potential, raising healthy families, and really keeping your life together in the meantime. The biggest thing for me is that at the end of the day, it's just all about your family. And so even in a business, we still have to make sure we focus on ourselves, our spouses, and our children so that when we arrive at that time where we made it, we're there with all the people that we love the most.
Right. Well, and I definitely want to talk about that kind of whole family balance. I think that's something our listeners could definitely learn more about because especially, as you know, even though it was a little while ago, like when newborns come around, it can be so consuming and you kind of get so hyper-focused on the little one that the whole family can get lost. But before we get into that, like in your experience, and especially nowadays, what do you see as the major challenges that families are facing regarding the health and well-being of their kids? What are the major things that are coming up?
Well, it's a great question, and I want to say this with all respect, and it's probably not intended to your audience, to be honest, because they're listening to this, so they've already overcome at least some part of this. And again, but to the rest of the world, and I truly mean this in the true sense of the word, the biggest challenge we have is ignorance. We just don't know. We're unaware of all the causes and the effects. We're unaware of all the solutions. We're unaware of the opportunities. And we really have, and I don't want to make this us versus them kind of a philosophical debate, but we've really been entrenched in a system that says, hey, you know what? Your child is born imperfect, and we need to fix all these different things. And anytime anything goes wrong, don't trust the power that actually created that little body. Just trust us. And so we've kind of lost control in a big part of being a mother and being a father and trusting in the processes of our body. And listen, God, thank God we have such great health care and medical care and medicine and surgery when they're needed. But wow, you talk to anyone outside the United States of America and they think we're all crazy because of how much we rely on that, and we've forgotten that. So what does that look like? That looks like, epidemic proportions of colic and ADHD and autism spectrum disorder and childhood obesity and childhood diabetes. I mean, every marker is on the rise, and frighteningly so. I mean, as a parent, it concerns me. As a healthcare provider, it's devastating to look at the actual research and see what's happening to our children today. And there are solutions, and the people that are part of your podcast and part of your community, your tribe, you're searching for those and you're sharing those. And that's why this is so important to people, because it starts, they say it starts in your own family, and that is so true. Everything needs to begin with a clear understanding of, what I call cause and effect, just that law that's always existed, but we tend to ignore when it comes to our bodies and the little bodies of our little children. And when we can focus on that, somewhat miraculously, health and longevity and prosperity and all these things start to find us a lot easier than when we ignore that law.
Right. And I've found, like with our listeners, it's been they do so much, the women that are listening to this podcast and their pregnancy, that to be healthy and to be as naturally oriented as possible. And as you said, it is kind of a different segment that we're speaking to, that are searching for those answers. Yet, once the baby's born, they kind of go into default mode of programming of, okay, turn it over to the doctors. And we want to make sure that we have resources for these new parents to say that, okay, all the stuff you were doing during your prenatal care can be continued on the other side with family care. And I believe that's like what you're helping other doctors around the world to spread that message for.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, everyone that is listening understands because they are taking charge of their prenatal care, and we go in and we take care of ourselves, and we have a birth plan, and we just pray and hope that things go according to plan, and usually they do, and sometimes they don't, and there are always plan Bs and plan Cs, right? So, albeit we end up at this place, and you're exactly right. There's this transition that is somewhat it's conscious, but it's an unconscious transition mentally, where we are in full control of this process, and we know it's a natural process, and we're there to encourage it by nutrition and doing all of the things that help us during the developmental phase, during the whole prenatal phase, and that's so important. And it's still amazing how many women don't know the first thing about it. Just, again, blind ignorance. They've never really been told, that what you put in your body matters always, but specifically and especially now. But there is that moment, Doc, when the child is born, that suddenly it becomes like, okay, now that power, if you will, that animated that child in the first place is now disconnected and no longer of service, and we start getting mechanical. And let me be frankly honest. I mean, I remember, even as a highly trained pediatric skilled chiropractor, the first time my first daughter, Morgan, when she was born, the first time we had a challenge. And it challenged me. It challenged my belief system. It made me really kind of stretch she's going to be fine. It's just a fever. She'll be okay. Wow, it's getting kind of high. And there's that natural instinct to go get help. And thank God, because sometimes we need to. But we all go through that process, and it's important, I think, that we really sit back and have the same mentality that we did in the prenatal phase as when our children are born and are developing, and allowing them to experience the environment and to build up their immunity and to do all the things that are absolutely pre-planned and programmed and part of the intelligence of a child being raised in today's world.
Right. And I can absolutely relate to your story about Morgan. Like, I'm newer into the fatherhood journey than you are. My son's 2.5. And, as grounded as I am in the natural principles of the body healing itself and a prenatal and pediatric chiropractor, when, my little guy started expressing some symptoms there, like there was that fear of, and wanting to make sure he's taken care of, and it rattled me for a little while. But thankfully, I was grounded in these principles to come back to those. But I can now relate to parents that much better, of understanding of, oh my gosh, this delicate little thing. Like I don't know what to do. Like let me do something to fix a problem. And babies are delicate, but they're so resilient and they're so strong. And if we allow the body to do what it's designed to do, it can overcome so much. And, it's important to have resources if, something very dramatic comes up, but allowing the body to overcome it on its own is first and foremost the best thing, and to support those processes.
And Jay, you're so right. And especially for first-time mothers and fathers, what I've learned in looking back now of having 3 amazing kids is I get told constantly how lucky I am. And, you're so lucky to have an epic love affair after 26 years. And people watch us. We travel the world. We've got a great life, and we live a real amazing lifestyle. And my middle daughter is a junior in college. She's studying abroad. She's been living in Vienna for 9 months, and people are, lucky. And I, for years that I just kind of, years ago when they were young, I'd hear the same thing. They go, they don't have the flu. Oh, everyone has flu. Oh, they're so lucky. They're so lucky. They're so lucky. And my tagline in my practice so many years ago developed from my frustration of, it's not luck. Of course, luck favors the prepared mind and all those things you hear, but, we're healthy by choice, not by chance. We really do things. And what I've learned in retrospect is that same process that every new parent is going to go through. And again, from the process of being pregnant in the first place, through the process of delivery and nursing and raising this child, is that the hardest thing for a parent, but let me just say for me, the hardest thing for me to do was to sit back and watch. Because we want to coddle, we want to help, and there's a time and a place. But I got to tell you, again, a little personal, maybe political, philosophical, I don't want to get too far, but we have a generation of people that have been overcoddled now, and everyone gets a trophy, and everyone gets a prize, and everyone's a winner, and that's not how life works. And so so all of a sudden I'm still hearing, your kids are so lucky, they're so confident, they're so radiant, they're so kind, they're so compassionate, and they're humans, they make their mistakes. But you know what? They're that way by choice, not by chance. And part of it is because as they get older, they're going to have struggles again, and you can't do the puzzle for them. You can't solve their problems for them. They have to grow through. That's, resistance in the gym is what causes muscles to grow, and resistance to an immune system is what causes an immune system to grow, and resistance to ideas is what causes our brains to grow. And it's interesting how the very smallest things that a new mother has the opportunity to perceive and want to act upon, there's this process that develops over time where you just say, you know what, I'm going to just observe. I'm just going to watch. Careful eye. Let them experience things. Don't let them get hurt. But, it's funny because when our first daughter was born, my wife and I took an oath not to say no. Now, try that with a kid, right? You got a 2.5-year-old, right? Yeah. But we wanted to see what would happen. He says it
all the time for us.
Yeah, if we said, don't, and what we meant was, of course, the word's going to come out. But instead of, no, don't, stop, instead of putting all these limitations on them, we would redirect. Say, hey, Morgan, instead of walking toward the fireplace, what if we went over here? And we would just give them options, right?
Right.
And it was a really, for us, it was very difficult and very interesting, but profound, because we saw the way these young people kind of grow and start thinking outside of a linear process, and it's the same as you apply it to their growth as it is to their health. When you show them options and you give them ideas and you teach them why this food is healthier and this one's not as healthy, and they see that, they start making their own choices really quickly. And it's quite profound how amazing they are when they choose the right thing all the time.
Yeah, I had a conversation with my dad. As you become a father, you start picking your brain about your dad, and he was very ahead of his time, I would say, and he called his approach sandbox parenting, in that he provided a safe space for my brother and I to play in, and as you said, a watchful eye, but then let us play, and that was, on the playground, obviously, but it was also as far as learning, and it was about as far as like exploring our environment and being like, okay, let me make sure he doesn't run into the street, but I'm going to allow him to have some options and kind of figure it out himself. And I want to provide that for my son as well. And you crossed linked it up to healthcare as well, to have, options rather than it being, oh, you're sick, you need to go, get to a doctor and get a pill of some kind. But it's like, all right, how can we help your body heal, and really kind of allow the kiddos to kind of discover that their body can heal on its own.
Yeah, it was always such a profound and honoring opportunity when a mother would bring their child into me and say, Dr. David, what do I do? It looks like he has an ear infection and he's got a fever and he doesn't feel good and he's been crying. And I said, look, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but let me tell you what I've done, with my child. If that was my child and that was the circumstance, I just hold him closer and love him up and watch him go through it. It's not a laissez-faire, oh, I don't care, oh, I care. And that mother cares. But sometimes the best thing you can do is let their body play, because their body's playing on the inside. It's discovering what soldiers it needs to pull to the front of the lines to destroy those bad bacteria. It's building up its internal forces. It's creating it's in the gym of life right now. It's there. It's doing a bar class. It's doing Pilates. It's building itself for its future. And if we stop that process all the time, look, whether it's a teething problem or a fever or ADHD or anything else, if we always seek to intervene and stop, and look, we can. We're smart. We've got everything. I mean, it's amazing what modern healthcare and medicine can do. But if we do that when it's really not absolutely 100% necessary, we stop a natural process in the body. You stop the learning. So it's like it would take you out of the sandbox. And you'd be like, oh, okay, I was just exploring this thing, and I now don't know what it is. So the next time it comes and it's bigger and stronger, I might not be prepared. And that is where sickness comes from in my philosophy. See, it comes from when the body is unprepared. it hasn't trained hard enough. And the training, look, just let me share a quick story. My middle daughter just got engaged to be married. It freaked me out. I'm like, what? Her name is Blakely. She's the only child, my only girl that's never really talked about being married. And my younger one's like, oh, I want a big wedding. My other one's, been dating a guy for 5 years. She's almost 24. And so my middle one's just this gypsy explorer, and she knows exactly what she wants to do and all these things. And it's through, I won't go to the whole story, but through the long process of denial and what the, oh my gosh, like every dad doesn't want that, but yet every dad does, right? I mean, my fear as a man is, oh my gosh, the pickings are kind of slim, to be honest with you. I look around at all the broskies and I'm like, hey, wow, I hope to God there's this one person. And what's interesting is all my good friends are like, oh, have you grilled them? Did you pull out your gun? All the stuff we joke about and talk about, and then, not minus the gun, that I've done when they're dating. What was interesting is we raised her to be such a strong, independent thinker and to let her go through the challenges that she's become this almost bizarre human being when you compare her to kids her age, that I didn't have any instinct to do that anymore because I totally trust her decision. And then when I met him, I was like, oh my gosh, I couldn't have handpicked a man for her. And when she told me, she said, she's always called me Daddy Man. She said, I found my version of Daddy Man. Oh. And how am I not supposed to celebrate that?
Right.
And that comes from your father's sandbox, right? That comes from letting someone explore. So it's a health issue, but it's also a mental health issue. It's a capacity issue. It's a maturity issue. And I think that the people that are interested in listening to you, Jay, and to the people you interview and that are really so grounded and so committed to their prenatal care, this concept is just one that carries out through a lifetime, and you just do the same processes, they're just applied differently.
Right. Well, that is such a beautiful story. I mean, I can understand as a parent how that might be freaky, but also being able to lean on the space you created and for them to grow up in. And that started right from the get-go. It wasn't something that just was, oops, all right, my teen years, I got to let these kids explore themselves. It was something as a lifetime choice you made for those kids. So congratulations.
And I guess my point that I kind of passed right over was that when it comes to someone's health, their immune system, they're learning. You read so many different experts that say so many different things, but they all agree that it happens early, right? It happens during those formative years, that from prenatal to 6, 7, 8 years old is where all of that happens. And it's, my realization was, I'm still her dad. I will always be, but I'm done. She is who she is now, right? And it happens early. It's kind of like, if you wait until they're a teenager, too late. And if you wait to try to get their immune system and their bodies healthy and strong, it's never too late. Look, I'll always be her parent. But I think that your listeners know exactly what I'm getting at. And that's, to me, the secret to health and raising a healthy family. And by the way, healthy family doesn't mean someone who just a family that feels good and that avoids the hospital. A healthy family is a family that lives to their potential, that expresses their optimum human potential. And when you get, a mother and a child and a sibling and a spouse, and you get everyone living to potential, it's something that stands out in a crowd. It really truly does. And that process is what I'm committed to. That, to me, is a healthy, epic life, is that process of a group of people living toward their potential. That's what we're committed to in this venture that we call health and life.
Right. And what advice can you give to new parents to create that family balance that can get so lost, as I was saying before, especially in that first year, so that the whole family is being raised healthy rather than just the kid is being raised healthy?
Yeah, great question, Jay. And I have a very, very strong answer that's not always popular, so I have to put a little bit of context with it. And of course, look, we have single moms, we have single dads, we have people that are divorced, we have gay and lesbian couple. I mean, what is a family? It's what you call it, right? So I can only give you my situation. But what I decided years ago, before, when my wife was pregnant for the first time, and we had a home birth, and I'll never forget when Morgan was delivered, and I just was the catcher, and I saw, oh my gosh, I have a baby girl. And, you know, it was the baby, it was the girl, it was the fur, it was the, oh my God, you know, we all, well, hopefully soon everyone that's listening to this will understand that process and what a miracle that is in and of itself. But I remember very shortly being, again, maybe a typical male, thinking, wow, I got to protect this girl.
Yes.
What am I going to do? And one of the very first things that came to my mind was I'm going to love her mother out loud. I'm going to step up my relationship with my wife, her mom, so that she observes, because you are your children's world always. And that doesn't mean you have to be perfect. It means you have to be real. It means you have to be authentic. So we have lived our life out loud, meaning that my children have been very aware of all of our wins and all of our losses. And we don't hide things from them. We've explained and had conversation. But the biggest thing is, since we are their worlds, they've grown up seeing, in my view, what an appropriate relation for myself and my wife is. And so we've set this bar, and they've sought to match that. And I can see it in my middle daughter who just got engaged. I can see it. I mean, this guy is someone who I would pick, strangely enough, right? I mean, he's an amazing human being, and I think it will make her very, very happy. And that concept seems so far-fetched, but let me give you a quick example. Just the other day on Facebook, a friend of mine who happens to be in Australia posted a female. She said, hey, friends, question, married 10 years, 2 young kids, what's the appropriate schedule for date night? And she was kind of kidding around, but she was basically saying, hey, we used to go out on dates, but we've been married 10 years, we've got these 2 kids. And Jay, I got to tell you, I was honestly, like, at first I was looking at going, oh, ha-ha, because there was probably 20 or 30 comments, and they were all like, date night? What date night? And once a quarter. And I seriously thought about it, and I wasn't going to post anything because I didn't want to offend or, like, oh, well, listen to me. But I got on there and I said, listen, I've had a date night with my wife every week for 26 years, even when our baby was born. And why would you do that? Because you know what? If we don't keep ourselves, especially a mother, and I saw this from being a practicing chiropractor, is the mom would come in and want to take care of the kids, and I'd say, well, what about you? Oh, no, listen, a mother will sacrifice their life and their health for their child, which is an innate thing, by the way. Mm-hmm. I would do the same. But the best thing a mother can do is take care of herself. The best thing a father can do is take care of himself and his wife, so that they are healthy and can provide for their children. And I don't mean just finance for their children and food on the table. I mean provide. So the best way that I've seen to keep a family together is to keep yourselves together. And I mean either a couple, a relationship, or yourself. You know what? It's the hardest thing in the world for a mother to think of handing their little baby to someone else and going back to the gym or going for a walk on the beach or reading a book for a little while. But you have to, because it makes you better, and you are your child's world. And we just, as much as we understand that intellectually, we drop it because our little baby becomes everything.
Right.
And and again, that's a natural process. But if you fight the process and you make sure you give back to yourself, and your child needs you, they need you. They won't need you forever, but they need you now. And so the best version of you has to show up. The best version of you. And that's what I tell people when they ask about how come you're so happy after 26 years? I said, you know what? I still open my wife's door. She's capable of getting her own darn door. I see her do it all the time when she drives. But if I'm in the car with her, I get her door. Why? Because that's how I won her over in the first place. And I remember, my first date, I got dressed up. I chose the restaurant. I ordered the bottle of wine. And so we still do that. Why? Because I don't want to become those people to go, hey, what's on TV? What do you want for dinner? I just personally, that's just not my style. I want to live life to the fullest. And that same process, I think, is applicable to this new family, right, to a newborn, is that, yes, you want to do all you want to do is love that little baby, but one of the best ways you can show love for that little baby is showing love for yourself.
Right. Well, and that, with our last couple minutes here, usually I like wrapping up by, giving that pearl of wisdom to the moms and to the dads listening there. But I think you kind of just hit the nail on the head right there. That
is what I would probably share. Yes.
Yes.
There's so many things, but it's such a crucial piece of raising a healthy family is being a healthy example.
Right. And what about for a little baby? Maybe baby's still inside mom's belly listening to you through mom, or they're in mommy's arms right now as mom's listening to the podcast. What would you like to whisper into their little ear now that they are about to be here or are here in the world?
It's interesting that you would ask that question because I've done it for 25 years. I mean, with permission, with my pregnant mamas as patients and my wife and my kids. And it was always the same kind of semblance of an idea. And it was, you know what, little baby, you're perfect in every single way. Don't ever believe anything other than that. And we can define that however we want, but we know that it's true. Because that moment you hold that baby, things are perfect. And the world's going to try to undo it. The world's going to try to convince people that they're not. And we're going to all find our own flaws and all that stuff. But the most powerful thing I can tell a baby, and I still tell my 3 babies that, you guys are perfect.
That is beautiful. And it's true. And they just need to keep hearing it, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Well, Dr. David, thank you so much for sharing your time today. This has been an amazing share, and I really think it's going to be really impactful for the new parents that are listening. Hopefully, they'll take a lot of your ideas to heart. Now, and how might they get in touch with you if they want to reach out? Is there a way that they can do that?
The best way to do it actually is 20 some odd years ago, I started a nonprofit organization that's really dedicated toward information and research and information to people that want to build healthy families, and it's the National Wellness Foundation. So you can find providers in your area. You can search, and I'm on there, and the URL is thenationalwellnessfoundation.org.
Okay, great. And I'll put that in the show notes as well as the webpage that we'll dedicate to this episode, so everybody can get in touch.
Because no matter where you are in the world, we have members all over that are specifically trained as family, chiropractors, and they know midwives and doulas. It's a great connected world. So if you're ever lost, that's a place to start.
Beautiful. Well, Dr. David, thank you again so much. I really appreciate your time, and it's been great talking with you.
Thank you, Dr. J.
All right.
Thank you for joining us today. For more information about this episode and other natural childbirth and parenting topics, please visit us at capwellnesscenter.com or message us on our Facebook page with any questions you might have. We here at the Cap Wellness Center look forward to helping you and your family be as happy and healthy as you can be.